Habari everyone, I am Shonda Branch and this is the Living Kwanzaa channel. I'm working hard to make sure that families, communities, and organizations understand how to achieve stronger futures by applying the 7 principles of Kwanzaa 365 days a year. That's right, we understand here that 7 principles hold infinite possibilities. We are in week 2 of our Umoja sprint, where we are taking 7 weeks of intentional deep study of Umoja, which means unity, to help us build the habit of practicing Kwanzaa 365 days a year, every single day, applying these principles and elevating our lives. So, before we go any further, let's just acknowledge that the world is in a little bit of a mess right now. TikTok is a whole thing. It's gone bye-bye. I'm kind of sad about it. But what's interesting to me is the unity that has been built around this issue. The people who have come together and strategized and come up with alternatives and solutions and just boots on the ground, gotten busy around this issue. And I wonder if TikTok is where our energy needs to be spent. I understand that there are principles behind what's happening that are impactful and that people are really looking at beyond just the entity of TikTok, the app itself. But it's a really good example for me of how people can, when they want to, come together around an issue and make an impact, how they can actually have an impact because they have decided enough is enough. That's really interesting, and I think it's something for us to dig into and keep tracking as this issue evolves. And it's really going to be something I think that future generations are going to be able to take a look at and perhaps model some strategies after. I don't know. We'll see. Let's also take a moment to acknowledge that folks out in California, in the Palisades, are still suffering. The folks in LA are I can't even imagine just to have to leave your home and know that it may or may not be there when you go back. Having grown up in Florida and dealing with hurricanes, that's always a threat. It lives somewhere in the back of your mind, but the destruction that I'm seeing in Los Angeles, the destruction that I'm seeing come out of California is like something I've not seen before. And so certainly my heart goes out to those folks. We are thinking about you, and I am organizing something. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I know my impact is more strong when it is local impact, but I can't let this ride. I have to do something for the folks out in California who are suffering. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for what that looks like. If you have an organization, if you have a suggestion or recommendation, something that the Living Kwanzaa community can do to contribute to the people out there who are suffering, let me know. Drop it in the comments and just tell me how I can help. I think that's the most important thing. I need to be open to receiving what it is that is needed and jumping in and helping in that way. So let's get down to it. That's what the video is about. We are going to be talking again about our Umoja sprint. So we have just finished up week 2. The 7-week sprint is going to go all the way through February, but we've got some pit stops along the way. Each week you have access to a calendar. If you need to download that calendar, you can jump over to flow.page/livingkwanzaa. It's an absolutely free download because I want everyone to have access to it. There are prompts, activities, challenges, quotes, and affirmations for every single week. So this week we are in week 2, and week 2 has been just as interesting as week 1 was. I put these together, I developed these, but it's interesting that I'm still learning from them and growing with them, even as I move through these activities and exercises on my own. So let's take a look at what week 2 had in store. I'm gonna switch this around. There we go. So in week 2, we had our Sunday affirmation. We always begin with an affirmation. It's a good way to set your mind on the intentions for the week and just sort of understand what you're going to be looking at as you go forward. Again, I use my affirmation from Sunday every single day when I enter into my Umoja time, when I set aside my 7 minutes or so to work on these items. I really find that setting that affirmation at the beginning, saying it or writing it in my journal every time I approach this work helps me to drop in and level set in a really, really good way. So the affirmation this week was, I actively work to create environments of inclusion, respect, and unity. It sounds similar to last week's, but the difference I think here is the call to action. It's very, very easy to be passively in unity with someone or something. When someone else is calling the shots or someone else is making the decisions, and all you have to do is ride with it, right? Say, yeah, sure, yeah, I agree, and jump on board and help. But when you are actively driving decision making, when you are making choices that are going to be impacting the larger group, I think that you have to be cognizant of the fact that there are places where you can fall short. And just knowing that you're being specific about inclusivity, you're being specific and using respectful language at every turn, you're being specific and really thinking about what unity looks like or needs to look like for a specific task, a specific moment, a specific job, whatever the case may be. Just being conscious of the fact that when you are actively driving the unity, it's going to look different than when you are passively joining in. So that's the thing that stuck with me with the affirmation this week. In our journaling time, I really dug into Monday's journal prompt. Really got me thinking, because I come from a family that's we're fairly well adjusted. Right? We don't have big blowouts and fights and arguments and stuff, but when things go awry, it's always in the sense of crisis. It's always when there's a funeral or when someone has passed and you got to pull the family together and handle final arrangements and all of that stuff. It's around weddings when it's high stress and high stakes, or sometimes it's around a big move when you've got to clean out and organize and decide what to keep and what goes and all of those kinds of things. So I'm wondering if that's been the same for anyone else. Let me know in the comment section if you discovered in this journaling time that when your family is having a hard time staying unified, that it's around a crisis. And then that got me thinking about, well, how can we avoid that? How can we not avoid crisis? Because those are the kinds of things that will happen in our lives. It's just expected. But how can we manage our lives in such a way, or prepare in such a way, that when we are faced with crisis, we don't panic and throw ourselves out of unity with each other? We can, go to the book that's already prepared, or pick up the flash drive that has the information on it, and just begin to act. How can we set norms and set expectations? What kind of communication can we put in place to say, hey, y'all, listen, the next 2 weeks are going to be high stakes, are going to be stressful. Let's just be mindful of each other's spirits. Let's be mindful of each other's feelings and how we're talking and communicating. So that's what the journal prompt from Monday brought forward for me. I'm wondering if it was the same for you. Again, drop it to the comment section and let me know how you're feeling about any and all of this. When I fast forward to Saturday's journal prompt, again, it brought me back to not only affirmation, but to that sense of like, when we're in a crisis, we're not functioning at our best. So for me, being a leader looks like preparing the flash drive or preparing the documents and getting them to everyone and saying, I need everyone to fill out this paperwork and get it back. We're going to everybody put your flash drive in the kitchen drawer so nobody has to struggle and find it. Like, just being the one who organizes around how we prepare for a crisis or how we communicate during a crisis, I think is how I have conceived of being in leadership when it comes to the unity that I need in my community or in my family. So those were our journal prompts. Again, your journal prompts are always on Monday and Saturday. They're a little bit spread out so that you have some other things in between. But again, this calendar is fluid. You can pick and choose. You can move things around. You can do what suits you, your family, your organization best. So then on Tuesday, there was an activity. I don't know whose bright idea it was to have a unity walk in January. It's cold. It snowed and like there's still some like sludgy, icy remnants hanging around. And it's just unpleasant outside. Like nobody wants to be out in it. So I had to get creative this week. And for the activity, I actually got some of my friends and coworkers together and we took a couple of laps around the inside of our building. It was an easy alternative. It just made sense. So after lunch one day, I sent out a text message to everybody. I said, hey, meet at my room. We're going to just take a walk around the building together. I haven't seen you in a while. I'd love to catch up. And that's what it turned into. It was really nice to see folks from other departments come by, to see folks who work on different floors, to see folks that I just haven't seen. I, passed by their room and I know they're in there and I just haven't stopped and knocked and waved and we haven't had conversation. So it was a really good experience and something that I think I would like to see happen again. It's every once in a while just to say, hey, come take a walk with me. Even if I can't gather a large group, just to get 2 or 3 people and move your bodies and talk to each other, catch up, see what's going on in their world. I think being open will also lend itself to a sense of unity when it's time to work together, when it's time to collaborate on something. People are a lot more easy and laid back when they really feel like you care about them, when you're connected in that way. So that activity actually turned out to be a lot of fun. Kudos to anybody who actually went out in the cold and did that. I know Monday coming up is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, and there will be some parades and some marches and some walks, and there will be things happening on that day. I will be checking the weather report before I engage with anyone on those, but I certainly understand how this activity or this concept, the concept of gathering together and moving together, is certainly impactful and effective. So that takes us to Wednesday's challenge, to volunteer for a cause or a community event, making it a point to engage with somebody outside your circle. I think that was the most important part of that one. Tell me who you volunteered with. Let me know how you made change. Depending on where you are, the needs are going to be different. The organizations are going to be different. I know being a member of my sorority offers lots of opportunities for me to participate in service-based activities and activities that happen in the community. And so when I get to those activities, I always try to make sure that I'm not just talking to my sorority sisters, that I'm talking to the folks who we've come to serve, or that I've talked to the people in the organization. It just provides a different perspective and you understand things a little bit differently. So just take a moment, tell me in the chat how you engage that challenge. A quote this week I really, really love. It's from our dear brother Mahatma Gandhi. And it says, unity to be real must stand the severest strain without breaking. There are some strains happening in the world right now. People are strained. People are stressed. There's a lot going on. And so when we consider how real our unity is, can it survive these strains? What can we do to make sure that we are strengthening it? What can we do to make sure that we are engaged with one another in a way that allows us to stay unified even when those bonds are tested, right? So that was something else, again, that I jumped in and journaled about, again, way past my 7 minutes, but it felt good, so I went with it. Friday night, game night, my husband and I were in here on our phones back and forth, and it was a mess. So the two of us have found little games and apps that we like. And we've been just sort of spending time watching each other play those, and that competitive spirit, cheering each other on while still trying to beat each other's high score has been the hallmark of that activity. So we didn't get a chance to pull out like the board games or the cards. I'm not really a card shark anyway, so I don't know what that is. Now my baby has a mean Uno game, so at 6 years old she can take you, but we just decided to do digital and just snuggle up with each other and have fun and just enjoy each other's company for a little bit, which I think is important. So we've gone through the journal prompt for Saturday already. That's what week 2 looked like. Here is a sneak peek of week 3. So week 3 is going to have all the same elements. Here's what you're looking at. If you got the email this week, then you also got this little preview. But I think if we just keep plugging away, if we just keep on the same track, show up every day, set aside some designated time, use your notebook that you pulled for this particular activity, and just keep going. Don't stop, right? Right about now is when it gets easy to say, oh, I don't have time for that this week. I'm just going to put that down. Do something, right? Even if you can't engage with all 7 activities for the full week, even if you can't engage with everything, do what you can, right? Keep this at the forefront of your mind. And I think that we will begin to see the impacts. We'll begin to see the evidence of this working. So again, the purpose of this entire 7-week sprint is to get a deeper understanding of unity, how you can show up, how your family can show up, how you can support your community, how you can move forward and advance and achieve unity in a real sense, and how you can maintain that unity once we have achieved it. So I want to encourage everybody to stay tuned. If you haven't signed up for the community, please go ahead and jump over to flow.page/livingkwanzaa. You'll find that in the description box and in the comment section. That's where you can find all of my materials, everything that you need to learn and understand about Kwanzaa, and then further learn and understand how you can apply these 7 principles to every aspect of your life every day. All right, friends, that's our recap from week 2. I'm looking forward to week 3. I'm excited. I'm ready to forge ahead, and I hope you are too. All right, take care, everyone.